So our next question is going to be, what are you doing to prepare for 2024? Now, I will preface the question because I wanted that for ad purposes. So the reason this came up is Alan Berg posted in a podcast a week or two ago about how 2023 in the wedding industry is a down year. And there are vendors across the country who have expressed that their 2022 was a big year and they had weddings and they were busy and they had work. 2023, there are many people who, venues and different things that are having to do creative things to make ends meet, that they just have not been able to fill the calendars, especially like they did in 2022. Alan's view on this is that 2022 was an unusual year because you had the end of the COVID delayed weddings, and that people who were kind of holding out, they got past that and they were like going to jump on getting married last year. Now we're in 2023, and he referred to this as the next normal, not a new normal, but the next normal, that we're going to be getting into that in 2024, of what weddings should settle into and find that their new happy medium, we'll call it, for lack of a better case. So his thought is that it's going to pick up a little bit. We'll have a little bit more business for next year, and I can vouch for just my phone calls and such have been increased at this point for next year than they were last year at this time. However, anyway. So what kind of things, for someone who's looking into 2024, what kind of things would you guys recommend them doing to kind of prepare for possibly a good, if not even certainly much better year than this year, but to an amped up year for next year? And Cubbie, you get to start this time of some advice you can give.
Oh, man. Well, don't take the foot off the pedal. Continue doing what you're doing, but even press the pedal a little harder. Maybe vamp up your social media, your promoted post, do some advertising. We talked about this earlier. There are different programs out there that you can maybe invest in. Bark, some leads. They give you leads. You buy credits and you get leads. And if nobody else in your market is doing that, and you're the only one they're reaching out to these Bark leads, you might get one. So I would continue doing social media posts, visiting my vendors, training out my DJs. We do bridal shows. We do 2 bridal shows a year, and just staying diligent and making sure you're following up all the leads consistently. Don't just pacify them. Just aggressively attack those leads.
Dan,
I think numbers wise, you should be expecting to get the incoming leads similar to 2018, 2019. I think that's a fair estimate to kind of gauge. If you've been in business that long and you haven't really done something drastically different, I think you can be expecting to see that. So if you're not seeing those leads coming in, then your message needs to be out there in a different way. I'm going to disagree with Cubbie. He did mention about social media, and I think that's going to be key. But I think some of the marketing tools that we used pre-COVID are just kind of really going by the wayside. Bridal shows in my area have tanked majorly. Even pre-COVID, they were tanking, and they've only gotten worse. Mm-hmm. Now, you might be living in an area that has wedding shows and they're doing excellent, awesome, buy into those. I'm not saying don't, but I'm just saying make sure what you're looking at is really going to have that return for you. And so if your leads are not coming in similar to what they were pre-COVID, then you need to look for that different marketing piece that's going to increase those leads, whether it's doing something different, focusing on reels with Instagram or stories with Instagram, whether if you want to do the paid post, you can. I still think your organic is going to be the way to go, because we're getting so used to seeing ads now and things like Facebook and Instagram with a little sponsored piece. They're getting scrolled past just like that. People are tuning them out, or they're using third-party applications to weed them out. So finding a way to be as organic as you can in that process is really going to be key. And then, as Cubbie said, though, keep your foot on the gas, right? Don't think that you can just sit back and relax and they're going to just come pouring in the way they did in 2022, when if you had a pulse, you are probably getting something filled in for that day, because the overflow just fell in your lap even if you didn't try. That's not going to happen going forward. You got to put the effort out. And again, the methods that you're doing are probably not going to be the same methods they were 5 years ago.
And I guess my thoughts for getting ready for 2024 for that season is you've got hopefully 3 or 4 weddings before the end of wedding season in your market, maybe more. But you've got a handful of weddings, and if you haven't been capturing content, footage, video footage, pictures, anything that you can get that you can start to distribute or drip through your social media over the winter time. As Dan mentioned, reels and such, you've got to have the vertical video, shooting a variety of different things, but really, even if that means hiring someone to come with you and be at my wedding at 6 o'clock and you'll be on your way home by 8:30 and paying them for their time. That is going to be, I think, for some people, really good money spent towards your marketing, your winter marketing time, or at least in the booking time in late November, December, January. So use this time to get content, because you can't create content when you don't have shows. It just doesn't work as well. So get it now. What you do with it, figure that out later. Just try to capture as much as you can right now so you have it in the can, and then you can work with it this winter.
One thing Icon said at DJX that I want to kind of reiterate along those same lines is where we used to spend our marketing budget 5 years ago, 10 years ago, it was on these, whether it was on sponsor posts or whether it was on, the shows, or whether it was on, ads taken out someplace, brochures that we were handing out. That budget that you used to have is now shifted to content creation. Whether that's on having the right tools for capturing, whether that's hiring somebody to do it, whether that's hiring somebody to put it together, putting it out there. The market piece has shifted for getting the best bang for the buck.
So as part of this, again, looking at 2024, I've seen DJs who are talking about adding low-lying fog. They're wanting to add, they want to add the dancing on the clouds, or maybe they're going to add whatever, the sparklers, or they're wanting to add things to their offerings for next year. What are your thoughts on is that, do you think that's a good time to be adding something for next year, or is it one of those things that there's going to be that saturation point? Everyone had a chocolate fountain all of a sudden, and it became the thing. What are your thoughts when it comes to someone debating if they should add something to their repertoire for next year?
I would encourage them to try taking a class on emceeing, mixing, or whatever they feel like their shortcomings may be. Anybody can buy sparklers and be the same company as you. Anybody can buy the same light as you. Anybody can buy, and that's not going to set you apart from your competition. What's going to set you apart from your competition is the way that we all have the same renditions of Love Shack, but it's what you do with it. We all, so like I said, I would challenge people to share, be real with themselves. Is it emceeing? Is it hosting? Is it mixing? Where are my shortcomings? Because anybody can buy equipment and match you as a company and be the same as you. But where are you going to stand out? Is it your customer service? Is your emceeing? I've seen great MCs that can't mix. I've seen great mixers who can't MC. So if you can do the best of both worlds, you are a double threat.
Well said.
Brian taps onto this. Add as they ask for stuff and willing to pay for it. I wouldn't even add it at that point. I would look for ways to rent it. Reach out to some of your production companies that are local. So, ones that are going to have maybe some of these extra features that are not in the wedding world, right? If they're close enough to you that you can do that, and it might even be worth a little bit of a drive, for you to rent it for, if you're kind of outside of a bigger area and you can rent it from a company that's in one of these other areas, in the end, get that under your belt. And then if it goes the way of the chocolate fountain, you don't have to worry about hanging on to it. And if it doesn't, right, and it builds and you start getting more and more and more of these, then you've kind of already established, okay, there's definitely a need for it. It's definitely coming in. Now it's time for me to get my own. I think in the end, you're going to find yourself renting is going to be good in the beginning, just to make sure that sticks around.
So to kind of build, Cubbie went the direction I was wanting, or I was figuring that this conversation would go, because I think we were all kind of in the same boat, is that you've got some skills that make you unique, and you have to understand what that unique selling, we talked about it last week, is one of the things, and then how to improve that, how to make it so that you are so good at it that people will be like, yeah, I got to have this person. They are awesome at doing XYZ, and it's not gear related. Yes, you could have sparklers for the bride and groom's introduction, But I think you could have just about as dramatic enough effect if you had your songs and you had some things in your vocal presentation of when they hit the door and how you were able to put that together and build to that moment. That stuff can really, beyond speakers and a microphone, is not gear related, and it can have as much or way more effect than there's Bobby and Susie. Okay, well, that was neat. Wow, yeah, there's fire, and now the building's on fire. That kind of a thing. But to be able to take that crowd and pull them in and hold them in your hand and get them their focus on that door over there and get them excited and get them riled up and ready to go. And then all of a sudden the door's open and there's Bobby and you helped create that moment. That's something that is hugely valuable, way more than sparklers or low-lying fog in my mind. So, okay, let's jump to our next question.